You know the sound. The fan whirs, the screen locks up, and your entire computer grinds to a halt. You've left too many high-demand browser tabs open in the background, and your processor is actively melting down. The human brain operates on a similar architecture. We wake up every day with a finite, non-renewable supply of mental processing power. Meet Arthur. Arthur treats his mind like an overloaded web browser, perpetually hoarding open tabs for every minor grievance he encounters. A driver cuts him off in morning traffic, so he opens a new tab. A coworker drops a backhanded compliment, and he leaves that tab running a heavy diagnostic in the background all day. Holding on to these uncontrollable daily annoyances creates a resource leak in our central operating system, draining power away from things that actually matter. By midday, Arthur's system is lagging. The cumulative drag of a dozen unclosed mental loops leaves his emotional bandwidth completely bankrupt. Curious. Think of your attention as a daily currency. Every time a new, irritating interaction pops up, a chunk of this resource vanishes, and it doesn't replenish until you sleep. We have to ask, why do we willingly spend our most valuable, limited currency on strangers and situations that have zero impact on our long-term goals? Emotional exhaustion is rarely caused by a busy schedule. It is the direct result of poor mental resource allocation. Running on a critically low battery, Arthur walks into his local coffee shop seeking a quick recharge. A customer at the counter is making a scene, loudly berating the barista because his latte is too wet. Arthur feels his blood pressure spike. He immediately dedicates his remaining processing power to internally drafting a scathing lecture to put this stranger in his place. Look at the transaction on this chart. Arthur is taking his own mental currency, his inner peace, and wiring it directly into a black hole labeled a stranger's problem. In the economics of emotion, dedicating brain power to someone else's foolishness yields a massive negative return on investment. Clara, the shop owner, notices Arthur spiraling. She slides a glass of water onto his table to break his mental loop. She poses a question. Arthur, if I walked up and handed you a bag of literal trash, would you take it home and set it on your dining room table? Arthur is revolted. Of course not. That's disgusting. Clara explains that a stranger's negativity is an optional offering. We often mistake these outbursts for unavoidable weather events, but they only affect us if we choose to catch them. We aren't passive victims of other people's bad moods. To be affected, we must actively decide to accept their trash and give it a seat at our mental table. Arthur looks back at the rude customer. The man is now violently throwing his weight against a door clearly labeled pull. The villain of Arthur's morning lacks the basic self-awareness required to operate a simple exit. Arthur just spent 20 minutes draining his cognitive battery over a person who hasn't mastered the mechanics of a door handle. Overreacting is an act of overvaluation. It grants premium mental real estate to people who haven't earned the right to influence your day. Arthur decides to upgrade his cognitive filter, protecting his mental real estate with much higher standards. When faced with unprovoked rudeness, he no longer accepts the delivery. He visualizes a return to sender stamp and lets the remark float away. Online, he closes the tab on internet trolls the moment they appear, preventing his heart rate from climbing. Inner peace is impossible if your strategy requires fixing every foolish person you encounter. True peace comes from claiming absolute sovereignty over who gets to live rent-free in your headspace. You cannot control how others act, but your personal peace is far too expensive to be bought by someone else's lack of sense.